Oh, it looks good. So, hey everybody, it's Monday. Happy Monday. It's the TED Show, episode 59. I am with my guest, the beautiful and amazing Tricia Dennis. She was kind enough to come on the show. I'm super excited to talk about all of the things that she has to talk about today. It's funny, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute, but as soon as I hashtag a few things, wow, did I get some followers and some comments. So I loved every second of it. So if you can hear us, will you please let us know? I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Facebook so that I can look at your comments, but go ahead and let me know if you can hear us. Thanks, Joe, for watching, Alan for watching. I'm sure you're going to have people here who are watching that you didn't expect to. So we have been talking for a while, actually. I've wanted to have you on the show because I think that what you have done and all of the things that you do in the community, and especially for your son and for the rights of so many people who are suffering, like your son is and has. Oh, thank you, Erin. Crystal clear, she says. I just think that we need to give you more of a platform. So give us a little bit of a history. You're going to pronounce it for me again, and you're going to give us a history, but I just thought that people need to hear your story. And so many people that I have on here say that I don't do anything controversial, and I honestly don't think that what you're doing is controversial. So let's talk about it. Give us a little bit of history about you. I put it in the bio, but let's all give a big round of applause for Tricia Dennis.
Hi, thank you, Ted.
I'm so happy you're here. And we have an audience today. Can you believe it?
So, yes, my son Noah was born in 2000. And prior to his birth, when he was five months in utero, I found out he had had a stroke.
So I did not know that until I read your bio, that a child could have a stroke in utero. That was obviously news to you. So you were, how did they know to test for that? Were they just doing normal testing? Oh, they did an ultrasound.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 17 years? Wow. Okay.
Almost 18.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. All right, so you found that out, and then you go into full freak-out panic mode, right?
Not really.
No? Okay, well, tell us about that.
No, I think it happened to the right person, because I was like,
Doesn't it always?
What is this word schizencephaly? And
Schizencephaly. I put that in the hashtag, but we're going to talk more about that.
So it's a cell migrational disorder, and what happened was he had a stroke when his brain was forming. Within the first trimester. So his cells never migrated to form the brain properly.
Wow.
And he's missing a substantial amount of brain.
But you didn't know that from any of the original testing. You didn't have any family history. It's not something that comes from your background. It's just something that can just happen, correct?
In my case, it was just happen chance, we call it. In other cases, it can be genetic.
Did not know that. So more children in the womb have it if you've had a child with it previously?
Yeah, or any malformation.
All right, so you get this information, and then what do?
I started going to libraries immediately. This is before the internet.
Yeah, 2,000 people. You all have no earthly idea what it's like to go to an actual library, I don't think. But yeah, we used to go to the library. That's where you did your research. You certainly didn't pick up your phone and do it.
No, I didn't have a phone.
I love it. So Noah, so they give you this. How long before he was born?
It was four months to go.
Oh, so you still had 4 months to go. So you have all of this time. He's incubating, and he's growing in there still. Did the doctors give you any kind of information? Like they knew enough to be dangerous and then really nothing more?
My doctor at the time told me that if it was his wife, he would abort. Wow. And that was the only advice I was given.
Oh my God.
So
yeah, that's heartbreaking.
I fired that doctor.
Well, of course you fired that doctor.
Yes.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, you are the mom and you know what's going on, but you know that he also doesn't have enough information to really make that decision because there wasn't a lot of information out there at the time.
Wasn't. I was handed a sentence, pretty much, just explaining what characteristics of clefts in the brain, and that's it. So I had to sprawl out on library floors looking up different terms and then going to another book to look up that term to kind of piece it together.
All while you're pregnant?
All while I'm pregnant.
All while you're working? Yeah?
Yeah, I was working.
So you're working and I just am amazed at the strength there. You must be too. I mean, looking back, I think that takes a lot of strength. So obviously there was an ultimate purpose here.
I think so.
So you sprawl out, you've got all of these books, you're trying to look up something that you have no idea about and probably no one around you has any idea about, even the doctors.
Right.
And you're trying to figure out a way to circumvent it, mitigate it, make it better, how to deal with it. Because in your mind, you had there was no way that you were going to abort Noah. Okay. So where do you go from there? You look at all the books and then you decide, here's my plan of action. And what was that?
My plan of action was if he was going to live 1 minute, then he was going to be loved.
I love that. That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
And I vowed to him the second I found out this was going to be our mission. This is what we were going to do. And
so he obviously, because we are 17, almost 18 years later, he lived more than a minute, thank God, yes. which is such a blessing. But there's a lot that went on between minute 1 and year 18. Mm-hmm. So talk about the journey. So he's born.
He was born. He had some delays. Probably around 3 months is when you really start figuring out the delays. There were some vision impairments, not tracking like a normal baby. If you're putting something in front of them, he wouldn't look.
But was he able to do things that babies, some of the things that babies do at that age? No. Okay.
He cried.
So he cried.
A lot.
And then how about his communication?
He started very young, around 6 months, pushing buttons. So I knew he had the ability, but I started using flashcards. I flashcard my entire house.
Love that.
And we used to do 2 choices, because I knew 1 choice wasn't enough. 3 choices is too much. So he began eye gaze a lot to tell me what he wanted.
So tell them a little bit about I'm terrible at this.
Schizencephaly.
Yes, thank you. So
you're welcome.
Tell them, because what does that do with speech? What does that do? So as he's developing, obviously he's not going to be able to say the things to you or communicate with you, so you have to find other ways to communicate.
Correct.
How does that look?
So schizencephaly is very personal to each case. Noah is missing the left frontal lobe. That's your thought process, your cognitive ability. Wow. And then he has a cleft in the right temporal lobe, which is where the seizures come from. So we had to really bypass a lot of damage to get him to understand what we were saying to him and how he could communicate back. So for the very first couple of years, it was a lot of eye talking.
Wow. And how does a child learn that? Like, you have to really teach them. Do you teach them yes and no at the start, right? That's really what you teach them. And then you begin to expand it to more words.
Right. Like we did yes and no. Now Noah's confined to one side.
Okay.
So he would do one motion like this, and we started saying that's yes.
So it's not just eyes. So I guess for people, he's not paralyzed necessarily. On one side he's paralyzed. So he can communicate bodily with another side, which you utilized to make it advantageous for him to be able to communicate in general. Okay, so he had one side that he could talk to you with.
Right.
And so you were able to teach him.
Yes and no. He could say no.
He could say no. Well, they all can say no. It doesn't matter what the child's going through. They all understand no.
Yes.
Oh, Team Noah, Lauren says.
Yay, Lauren.
I love it. So they know no. He learned no.
He did.
But how did you handle, so as he's growing, so he's getting to the point where he's really learning the communication, he's able to communicate with you, but he's still having the seizures. So talk about that.
He started seizures at age 5. He didn't have seizures when he was born.
Wow.
And a lot of children do. So I was lucky, but that first one was like, what is going on? It was just a shock, even though you knew it's coming.
And that's part of the disease. That's part of the condition, the disorder,
yeah.
Yes. So he started to have the seizures, and were they daily? Were they multiple times a day?
The first one was very short. The next day we started 45 minutes back to back.
Wow.
Nonstop.
And how long does that go on before you go, I've got to get back to my flashcards, my research, and it's probably a little more research by then, and try to figure out, all right, there's got to be a solution to this.
There was no solution at the time. He was uncontrolled, and it was just hospital trip after hospital trip, and it took a toll on the entire family. It was just from age 5 to 9 was nonstop, in the hospital.
And that takes a toll on you all, but it also takes a toll on him.
It took a toll
because
on what he
he's
learned.
cognizant enough and understands what's going on to know that this is painful, it's not right, it's uncomfortable. There's so many things I'm sure that he's emoting or feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're also having to deal with your own feelings and the fact that you also have to figure out how to continue to support the family, continue to figure out ways to help him and make his life a life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where you kind of set out and said, all right, we can't do this like this anymore.
No.
So from 5 to 9, he had all of the seizures. And then what was the turning point for you?
So he went from the last major grand mal seizure that he had at age 9, it really affected our family because we thought he was going to go that time.
Sorry.
As a result, my father committed suicide.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
That was my turning point.
Wow.
Because I knew if I didn't take control of what was going on, that was my dad.
Right.
So what happened next was he somehow got controlled for a couple years. And then when 12 hit, puberty,
Oh, so that drove him.
it started happening again.
So from 9 to I'm so sorry about your dad, by
Thank
the way.
you.
I'm so sorry. I mean, that's a whole nother thing that the family is dealing with and you're trying to figure out. And there are so many different disorders, diseases, conditions that parents deal with, which you talk about in your book, I think. You talk about the heroism of Noah, but how you all overcome that. But I think people really, it's all about how they can figure out how to handle the situation that they're in. And God bless your dad. I mean, that must have just been tragic for all of you because... All right, so he's 9 to 12, and then puberty hits because that drives your body into a whole nother thing. You've got hormones.
He lost a lot of weight.
Why did he lose so much weight?
He was going through that growth spurt. 12
Yeah.
for a boy. I mean,
got
that's
you.
when you're like...
Because that's the other thing. He's going through some very, quote-unquote, normal things that are happening. So you're having to deal with the unknown or / abnormal, for lack of a better word, and the normal that you would expect from somebody who's 12, a boy who's 12. And so you're having to deal with all of that.
Yes.
So at 12, what happens?
At 12, they told me in Orlando that he was failing to thrive. And
It's an interesting use of
it means that there's a medical term for it, but it means wasting away. In other words, no matter what we were feeding him, he wasn't gaining weight. Well, I thought surely it had something to do with the scoliosis.
Oh, so he has scoliosis
Severe.
too?
By then,
Because
he was
he's
51.
bedridden, right?
Well, he's mobile.
Sort of.
You know, he's in a wheelchair, and but when you have neuromuscular scoliosis, it's caused by the brain. So Noah has a dominant side. So when he's using that dominant side, this happens. You know.
Oh, I get it.
And there's a rotation.
I get it.
So he did not get approved for scoliosis surgery because of his condition at the time.
That's insane.
So
So you're fighting that, right? So he's got scoliosis, which is painful.
yeah.
And then, so if you're not, what is it? Something to thrive? I hate the whole thought process of it, but he was failing to thrive. All right, but didn't some of it have to do with the fact that, she needs water, because, I'm talking her ear off. And I apologize, I love you guys, but I'm so enthralled in the conversation, and I know you guys are commenting, and I appreciate it, and we will answer those later, I promise. Failing to thrive, so you've got to deal with that, but here's also what's going on. As a teenager, there's all this other hormonal stuff going on. So like when my son was 12, 13, going through puberty, he shot up, got super skinny, but he didn't have all those issues to deal with. So couldn't that have been part of it? Was that what they were?
It was.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a parent, you know your child regardless, and that's why you've been such a proponent and an amazing advocate for Noah. So he gets to 12, and they tell you that, and then you basically go, I'm not listening.
I said,
you're
fired. You're fired.
As you should, right?
You
because
have that right.
I think that people get so caught up in their doctor and believe, I have a lot of doctor friends, but if it's not for you and it's not right for you, you know it as a parent or as a patient. And so you have to be your own advocate or the advocate for somebody that you're taking care of or you're in charge of. So you took that and you decided, all right, this is not what we're going to have for Noah, and what happens next?
I decided to start blending real food for him instead of formula and things like that he was being prescribed, because I had a feeling that unnatural kind of formula was causing him.
Okay, so tell them. So he was eating like a pre-made formula?
So he ate by mouth until about age 12.
Okay.
That's when everything just went. All his ability kind of just stopped because he was having so many seizures and he was so thin and just fighting everything. I'm sorry, what did you ask again? So I can.
I asked, so what happened? So the formula was the pre-made, and then you went to more of a whole food, real food.
Yeah, so they put a G tube in him, which is a little button where food can come in. And it's like a formula.
But he ate on his own with his own mouth until about age 12.
When a seizure started.
Okay, so that's got to be overly frustrating for him, and then for you all, that's life-changing.
Well, if I had been any other parent, I probably would have believed he was shutting down.
Right.
Because I was seeing it.
But you refused to. Which is amazing. Which again, we want to go back to the part about being an advocate for your child, because doctors don't have all the answers. They don't. And you don't want to do something. I mean, we've got somebody in our audience right now who went out on a limb, and we can talk about her later on, but you go out on a limb and you do the things that you know are right for your body or the person who you're taking care of. And that has to be more, we have to empower people to do that more. I'm not talking about being irresponsible. I'm talking about knowing that this isn't working, this protocol isn't working, it wasn't working for Noah. Right. So you have to do the things that you want to try or that you know are right for your body or the people that you love, which is what you did.
That's exactly what I did.
I took
his life back.
You took his life back. I love that. So you made your own food for him. You got him off that. You got him off that. And what was the turnaround?
His weight was the first
thing. He gained weight.
So once we removed all that, you know.
Because it's all fake and chemically, right?
And I had a feeling it was just coated through his intestines, everything.
Right.
So that took a while. That was a good 4 months before we really reached some nice, healthy weight gain, and he started passing some of the preliminary tests for the scoliosis surgery.
No way. Okay, see, this is why I've got a $4 budget for R&D here, so I don't know all the answers. Okay. I love that. That's amazing. So he started passing the test just simply because you changed his diet. That's amazing.
Which, the last thing was kind of, he was in a lot of pain. The scoliosis was, and I'll have to show you pictures, you can post them in this, but he was at 93 degrees at that point.
Wow.
So one shoulder's up high, he's completely turned, and he hurt.
Of course.
So if he didn't pass all of the tests, which is pulmonology, cardiology, and I didn't know if he would, I was just going to make him comfortable. Because honestly, we didn't know if he was going to make it through that surgery, or if they would approve it.
So what happened?
We began using cannabis for Noah.
You did. All right, so let's talk about that, because I have had probably more private messages about this post, and certainly a lot more people following me. I love it, though. I think it's so, to me, as somebody who is a believer in it but not a user, I am amazed at how much time we spend on vilifying it. And so I just think it's ridiculous. So when the opportunity came up, I've had other people who wanted to come on the show to talk, and I said no. Just because theirs was incredibly political and monetary.
This is personal.
Very monetary. Yeah. So this is personal. So talk about that, because it just makes me crazy as a parent and as a human being who, like, my wife has issues that I know would be taken care of if she had more easy access. But compared to what you are dealing with and what Noah's dealing with, it's insane that we would deny anyone that. Yeah. So you go on this journey, because it's back then, it's still a journey, right? Yes. You don't have the John Morgans or the doctors or the clinics or the Knox dispensary. No. You don't have any of that back then. So you're fighting this battle.
It was scary, because every time you give your child a new medication, at least me, I watch.
Right.
And I'm worried. What is this one going to do? Because
sure, you don't know the you don't know the effects.
Never. One fungal medication caused him to go into a coma.
Oh my gosh.
You never know.
You don't know. Yeah.
So the first time, it was presented to me that if he is in end stages, then why not make him comfortable? So that's what I did. I was treating myself with cancer at the time.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Again, my research is terrible.
Okay.
God bless you. That's amazing.
So I just thought, why not see if this comforts him a little bit?
Because it was comforting you.
It was. I wasn't stressing about the pain. I was more relaxed and not as much pain. I was healing. So I was like, maybe this will work for him. At least give him some comfort.
Now, what kind of fight did you have to go through to get that? Did you have to give it to him and go, to heck with all of you people, I'm just going to give it to him? That's pretty much what you had to do at the time,
I didn't
right?
tell anyone.
Of course. Well, you
I think
couldn't
my closest
because
friend.
you could have, at the time, you could, oh, we have another audience member who I wasn't paying any attention to. You could have gotten in trouble. There could have been
Absolutely.
consequences, which is also ridiculous as a parent. I would do anything I could to help somebody I love and help my child. So you're there and you make the decision because you have experienced some of the calming effects, the healing effects of it. And so what happens next?
Well, I watched him for a good 2 hours because I'm like, what is he
Well,
gonna
because
do?
you also have that freak out moment
Yes.
because you dealt with the last
Of
thing that
course.
he went into a coma with, and you don't know.
And, it wasn't from a doctor. It was just angels that
Right.
were doing this.
Correct.
So I watched him, and what I saw was him, the nystagmus in his eyes, which is shaking from the brain tremors and, brain malformation. It causes his eyes to kind of shake. They got still.
No way. I
And
got chills.
then he started kind of reaching for my hand.
Oh my God.
And we just had this intense eye contact together, and I'm like,
because he had a moment where there was relief, at least something, whatever that relief meant.
for a moment we were on the same wavelength.
Oh my gosh,
and
I have chills.
That's why I say that's the day I met my son.
That's amazing. And so you knew right then and there,
We're going this route.
This is the route we're going.
No
but it
seizures
wasn't
that day.
it wasn't an easy route, right? So what happens next? Do you have to start petitioning doctors? Do you have to go, how do you go about? I don't remember the time frame, but even now it's not as easy as everybody in the media seems to think it is, whatever side you're on. It's still a difficult path to take. It's not as easy to get as everybody says it is. So what did you have to do at that moment?
I was in a group of people that were trying to heal because I had cancer at the time. So we were in a group together, and I started discussing the fact that, I had a lot of people helping me, just support. So it didn't matter what anyone else said. I had that community. I didn't tell my family, no one, and I just began really seeing the benefits of what was happening to Noah, and I couldn't shut up after that.
I love it.
It almost overshadowed the cancer. It was just
Sure,
unbelievable.
you saw a change in him, and a positive change, a healing in him. And so, of course, as a parent or a loved one, you can't shut up about it. How could you? I would scream to the tops of the mountains if I knew something was going to help somebody I loved, or my child, or both. And so you're taking it there, but you're hitting some sort of, obviously you're getting friction.
What happened was I began speaking in the community that I'm founder of We Are Rare.
I love that. wearerare.org, by the way.
Yes, and we work with, from adults to children with any kind of brain malformation. And I think I just started kind of telling people little bits of what we were seeing. And then you saw more people going that direction. Maybe running to Colorado. I chose to not run.
So you begin to give him, because you don't have anybody who's really telling you, all right, you should have this amount or that amount, you begin to figure out what's best for Noah. There's got to be some experimentation there. So do you see, you begin to see a change in him. So talk about that.
Okay, so I'd say between 13 and 14, he was getting older, more vocal. He was taking interest in things. This is stuff that all cannabis gave him back.
I love that. So talk about, so he's going from...
Let me just say, cannabis is food. It is medicine, and it's the single most important medicine of the 21st century.
I love that. So listen, people. Listen, I don't have anybody judgmental on here right now, and they shouldn't be. It makes me crazy. But it is. And Noah is living proof of that.
For him,
your own son, and there is nobody that I know personally that wouldn't do anything they could to make their
you.
child feel better. So
right.
Again, no judgment on this. It makes me crazy when nobody's on this show that does that, by the way. And if they are, they will not be on the show very long. But I feel like your message is so clear. You do what you have to do, and what Tricia has found for Noah is the answer, or an answer where there was no answer before.
You remember, though, I was treating him for end stages.
Right.
And what he did was get better.
Right.
So I was automatically like sold, because all those medications had taken those things.
So what happens now? So he's 13, 14. You begin to figure out what his regimen is.
Yes.
What kind of, how does this work, or how much does he need? The seizures begin to pull back. He begins to be more alert and more, I don't know, assertive in his own life. Is that what happens?
Yes, we went through 25 different types of, strains to see what would work best to really knock everything. And that took a long time. I mean, because it's a hit or miss kind of thing. Well, what I realized is maybe we needed to add some CBD, and that really changed.
So tell people, so here's the other thing. If you're not familiar at all and you're just out there on the judgmental scope, the fact that she's talking about 25 strains of this or CBD that, people don't know. They just know what they think is it's pot and it's bad, because that's what we've been told since the 50s and 60s. And so instead of really doing the research and understanding how many strains and how much is out there and how you can adjust it, just like anything you do medicinal, they don't know, and so they judge, and that's the part that makes me crazy. So you tried all of this, and you finally found the one that, or at least found part of it that works for Noah.
Yeah. Now, he still has tonic episodes, but it's maybe 3 a week, and they last like a second, and he breathes through everything. And he's coherent. He watches me the whole time. He'll smile. He knows I'm there.
And that's what's great about your posts. So that's one of the things that I love about Tricia's Facebook is that, Beverly Burgess says, "We love Noah. Mama, do what you got to do to help Noah get better." And that's exactly the message. But you know what was important for you to get done, but you're still having to fight people for it because he has to go to the regular doctor, correct?
Yeah.
So do the doctors go, "Hey, listen, he's testing for this," or do you have to share with them? Because that's also a fight you have to do. You have to fight the basic doctor on it.
Well, back then, I couldn't say it to anyone. So I would go, when he went in for the scoliosis surgery, I was treating him,
You had to say nothing.
I said nothing.
Which is so unfortunate, but I understand. Because if you had, they would have stopped the scoliosis surgery right then and there because of their lack of knowledge or ignorance or both. So you've had to do some things as an advocate and mom that a lot of people probably have had to do as well. I've just got to hit that close button.
And they judge a lot.
And why do they judge? So I want to get back to Noah in a minute. Let's talk about the judgment, because it makes me crazy. I'm not a judgmental person.
You saw my post.
I did see your post.
Well,
and why? So let's talk about that.
Because when I first started talking about this, I said we left the state. It's no one's business. This is a personal journey.
Right.
So those people kind of thought, we know you didn't leave your... Well, it's no one's business.
Right.
This was something I was doing to save my child from pain. I didn't know it was going to change our lives like this.
Correct.
So forgive me if I have to accommodate to the masses, but it's quite honestly a personal journey and no one's business how he was treated.
Correct.
I'm just trying to provide the information out there for parents that want to use that.
Well, you say cannabis education and you say patient rights.
Exactly.
And I think that unfortunately those two in this instance go hand in hand, because if you're doing any kind of cannabis education, you've got to talk about patient rights, because most people don't understand what their rights are. Even though we've passed the laws, they don't understand what they get to do, what they don't get to do, what they can take without being arrested. And because we have so many people don't get me started on the people in jail for all of this.
I know.
That's a whole nother discussion. But I feel like it's important for people to know what their rights are, and that's what you do, and that's what you talk about a lot. That's why you're such an amazing advocate. So where are we at now with Noah, since we're 35 minutes into a 30-minute show, which I love. No, it's awesome. I do not want to stop it.
Noah is now followed by Dr. Rosado in Orlando.
So we have a
He's
doctor.
Are you?
Now. So here's the great thing. That is so amazing, and I don't think people realize how big that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's big.
It's huge. You don't have to live in the shadows.
You're not hiding anything from anybody anymore.
Yes.
And why should you if that's what you're doing to help your child? And why should you if you're suffering from glaucoma, cancer, all of the other things, the million different things that kids and adults suffer from that cannabis can help them with? And it just makes me crazy that you have to deal with that. Chris Turner says, Dr. Chris says, hi, Ted and Tricia. We love you, Dr. Chris. So give them the update. So he is being seen by a doctor.
He's doing amazing right now. He's been on a specific product now, and he's doing amazing.
And I see the pictures on Facebook. Now, does he have, it's Tricia Dennis, that's you, but does he have his own page? Do you have your own page?
He has Super Noah.
Super Noah, so we're going to have to post that later because I would love people to follow that, and he probably would too.
Yes.
I mean, I think following that journey could probably mitigate some of these negative comments that nobody's made it here, but that people think. They just don't know. It's because they're uneducated.
Well, I was uneducated. I mean, at the time when I started this, I don't think I was educated enough. Now, and that's what I tell parents, don't jump into anything until you educate yourself.
Correct.
You know, I really looked into every aspect of what I was doing with my son. And it's very personal, and you have to really make those choices on your own.
Of course you do.
So I tell people, don't listen to the masses. This is your journey. This is your child. You do what you need to do.
Listen to her. And you are amazing. I mean that. I mean that. You are awesome. I think you have blessed a lot of people by coming on the show. I want people to follow you. I want people to follow Noah. I'm going to put all the URLs up later. So that people can see that, because I know so many people suffering, and they're suffering because they don't know the options they have,
stigma.
And there's such a stigma about it. It makes me crazy. So
well, here I work in the government. I volunteer my time for the mayor's board, and I serve my community, and nobody knew this was going on.
I love that you serve on the mayor's board. Which board do you serve on?
I'm on the community development.
I love that. I love our mayor.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so we're going to give the URLs out. We're going to give all the information about Noah and Tricia and wearerare.org. You are amazing and an angel and a gift. And I think that there are many people here who we're going to share this video with that are going to think the same thing. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You were awesome. I knew it was going to be awesome. I have friends that messaged me, you're going to talk about pot.
Hear all that.
I loved it. We're going to talk about pot. No, we're not. We're talking about cannabis, and we're talking about education, and we're talking about things. So come on, people, get with it. So we love you. Thank you for all the comments, and we will share everything. You're awesome. Thank you. We love you guys. Thanks for watching the show, and thank you for letting us tune in late. We went a little late, and we appreciate you. See you tomorrow, where I think we're going to sing. Oh, look, we have clapping. I like clapping. Oh, my God. We're going to have sing. But we'll see you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.